Today, we're going to dive into the world of meetings and uncover some secrets about how they work and why they matter. Let's start by understanding that not all meetings are created equal. They come in different shapes and sizes, each designed to address specific needs or challenges. First up is the classic team meeting. These gatherings bring everyone together to discuss progress, share updates, and tackle any issues that might be standing in your way. Team meetings help ensure everyone's on the same page and working towards common goals. Next, we have the high-level strategy session. Think of these as big-picture brainstorms where leaders gather to plan out future directions for the company. These meetings are all about vision setting and deciding which projects or initiatives deserve the most attention. Then, there's the project kickoff meeting. This is your starting point, where everyone comes together to outline objectives, assign roles, and set timelines for a specific project. It's like laying the foundation before you start building. We also can't forget the regular review meeting. These happen periodically, usually weekly or monthly, and serve as check-ins to see how everything is progressing. They're great for making adjustments on the fly if needed. Another type of meeting that deserves mention is the problem-solving session. When there's a tricky issue at hand, these meetings bring together experts from different areas to brainstorm potential solutions. It's like putting your best minds together to crack tough nuts. Then we have the all-hands meeting, which brings every single member of the company into one room or online space for an update from leadership. These are typically held quarterly and give everyone a chance to hear about big-picture changes happening within the organization. Lastly, there's the virtual meeting, which has become increasingly common thanks to technology. Whether it's via video call or instant messaging platforms, these meetings allow teams spread across different locations to communicate effectively without needing to physically be in the same place. Each of these types of meetings plays a unique role and contributes differently to achieving your goals. By knowing what kind of meeting you're attending and preparing accordingly, you can make sure that every session is as productive and effective as possible. So next time you're invited to a meeting, take a moment to think about which type it might be and how best to engage in the process. Today, we're going to dive into how setting goals can make your meeting participation more effective. Imagine this. You walk into an important meeting feeling prepared and focused, knowing exactly what you want to achieve. That's the power of having clear goals for each meeting you attend. So let's start by thinking about why goal setting is so crucial. When we have specific objectives in mind, it helps us stay on track during discussions, ensures that our contributions are relevant, and ultimately makes us a more valuable team member. It's like having a map to guide your way through the meeting maze. Now, how do you actually set these goals? Start by considering what outcomes you want from each meeting. For example, if it's a high-ticket project planning session, maybe your goal is to secure key resources or get a green light for next steps. If it's a more routine team update, perhaps your aim is to share progress on an important task. Next up, think about the specific actions you'll take during the meeting to achieve these goals. Will you speak up early to set the tone? Or will you wait until a breakout session where you can contribute more detailed insights? Tailoring your approach to each situation helps you make the most of every opportunity. Also important is preparing ahead of time. Review any materials in advance so you're ready with well-thought-out ideas and questions. This preparation not only makes you feel confident, but also shows respect for others' time and expertise. Another key tip: be flexible and open to adjusting your goals if new information comes up during the meeting. It's okay to pivot and adapt, as long as you stay focused on achieving something meaningful. Lastly, don't forget to reflect after each meeting. Assess what worked well and where improvements can be made for next time. This continuous feedback loop helps you grow and become an even more impactful participant in future meetings. In summary, setting clear goals for your meeting participation is a powerful way to enhance your effectiveness as a team member. By thinking ahead about what you want to achieve, acting strategically during the meeting itself, and reflecting on your performance afterwards, You can make sure each discussion moves you closer to reaching both personal and organizational objectives. So next time you have a meeting coming up, take a few minutes to jot down some goals for yourself. You'll be amazed at how much more engaged and productive you feel when you know exactly what you're working towards. Let's dive into how you can make your next meeting really productive by researching the agenda in advance. This simple step can transform your meetings from dull and unproductive to engaging and action-packed. First things first, always start early. Don't wait until the last minute to look over the agenda that's like trying to cram for a test at the 11th hour. Instead, set aside some time before each meeting to read through everything carefully. This will give you plenty of opportunities to think about the topics and come up with insightful questions or contributions. Next, dive deep into any high-ticket items on the list. These are likely to be crucial discussions that could impact your team's success. So don't just skim over them, really get into the nitty-gritty details. Look up relevant information, gather supporting data, and jot down any thoughts you have about potential solutions or improvements. After that, make sure you're prepared for all discussion points by doing a bit of background research on each one. This will help ensure you're not caught off guard during the meeting when something unexpected pops up. It's also a great way to show your team members that you're committed and knowledgeable about the topics at hand. Now, here's another tip. Don't forget to jot down questions or comments as they come to mind while reviewing the agenda. These notes will serve as a reminder of what you wanted to say during the meeting, helping you stay focused and on track once it starts. And lastly, take some time before the meeting to visualize yourself speaking confidently about each topic. This mental rehearsal can boost your confidence and make you feel more comfortable sharing your ideas when the time comes. So there you have it. By taking these steps to research the agenda in advance, you'll be better prepared for meetings and ready to contribute meaningfully every single time. Today, we're diving into the world of gathering relevant data and insights to help you understand how to make informed decisions based on solid information. Let's start by thinking about why this is important. When you have accurate data at your fingertips, it empowers you to see trends, anticipate future needs, and make strategic choices that can really set your project or business apart. Now, let's talk about where you can find this valuable information. There are plenty of sources available today, both online and offline. For instance, government databases, industry reports, academic journals, and even social media platforms can provide rich insights depending on what you're looking for. The key is to know which sources align with your specific goals. But gathering data isn't just about collecting numbers, it's also about interpreting them correctly. This means understanding the context behind each piece of information and how it fits into a bigger picture. For example, if you're analyzing sales figures over time, it's important not only to see that they've increased, but also to know why was there a new marketing campaign, a change in pricing strategy. Another critical aspect is staying updated with real-time data. This could mean setting up alerts for key performance indicators or using tools like Google Analytics to track website traffic. Keeping an eye on these metrics helps you respond quickly to changes and make adjustments as needed. Now, let's not forget about qualitative insights too. These are often gathered through interviews, surveys, focus groups, or even casual conversations with your customers or stakeholders. Qualitative data gives depth and meaning to the numbers, helping you understand the human side of your business, like why people choose your product over others. When you're sifting through all this information, remember to filter out what doesn't align with your objectives. It's easy to get bogged down in details that aren't directly relevant. So always keep your end goal in mind and prioritize data that contributes to achieving it. Finally, once you've gathered all your data and insights, make sure to present them clearly and concisely. Use visuals like graphs or charts where appropriate. These can really help highlight key trends and make complex information more accessible. And don't forget to share this knowledge with your team or stakeholders. After all, collaboration leads to better decision-making. So there you have an overview of how to gather relevant data and insights effectively. By following these steps, you'll be well on your way to making informed decisions that can drive success for whatever project or business you're working on. Today, we're diving into some essential techniques for active listening during meetings. You know how important it is to understand what's being said in a meeting, right? But sometimes, it can be tough to stay focused, especially when there are high-ticket items or complex topics on the agenda. So let's break down some key strategies that will help you become an active listener and contribute more effectively. First off, maintain eye contact with whoever is speaking. This shows respect for what they are saying and helps keep your attention on their message. Next, try to avoid distractions like checking emails or taking notes while someone else is talking. Instead, focus on capturing the essence of what's being said before jotting down key points. Another important technique is paraphrasing what you hear back to the speaker. This not only confirms that you understood correctly, but also gives them a chance to clarify if needed. For example, you're saying that we need to increase our marketing budget by 20%. It's a simple yet effective way to ensure everyone is on the same page. Additionally, asking questions can deepen your understanding and engagement with the topic at hand. Don't hesitate to ask for clarification or further details if something isn't clear to you. This shows genuine interest and helps prevent misunderstandings later on. Lastly, remember to listen non-judgmentally. Sometimes our brains tend to judge or jump ahead before fully processing what's being said. Try to keep an open mind and focus solely on comprehending the speaker's message without forming opinions prematurely. By incorporating these techniques into your meetings, you'll find yourself better able to follow discussions and contribute meaningfully. So next time you're in a meeting, put them into practice and see how they enhance your participation and understanding of the nitty-gritty details discussed. Today, we're going to dive into the nitty-gritty of reading nonverbal cues in meetings. Understanding these signals can help you better connect with your colleagues and improve teamwork. Let's start by talking about facial expressions. A smile tells us someone is happy or friendly, whereas a frown might indicate dissatisfaction or concern. Paying attention to these subtle changes can give you insight into how others are feeling during discussions. Body language is another important aspect to consider. For example, crossed arms might signal defensiveness, while open posture suggests openness and willingness to engage. Eye contact plays a pivotal role too. Maintaining it shows attentiveness and interest in what's being said. However, prolonged eye contact can sometimes come off as aggressive or intimidating. Another key nonverbal cue is tone of voice. The way someone speaks, whether they're speaking softly or loudly, quickly or slowly, can convey different emotions and attitudes. For instance, a high-pitched voice might indicate nervousness, whereas a low, steady tone could show confidence or authority. Remember to also look for micro-expressions. These are brief facial expressions that flash by almost too quick to notice, but can reveal genuine emotions. They're incredibly useful in gauging true feelings behind words. Understanding all of these nonverbal cues will help you navigate meetings more effectively and build stronger professional relationships. Just remember, context is key. What might mean one thing in one situation could have a different meaning elsewhere. So always consider the setting and your colleagues' personalities when interpreting their signals. By being attentive to these nonverbal clues, you'll be better equipped to read room dynamics and adjust your approach accordingly, ensuring smoother meetings and enhanced collaboration. Today, we're diving into an essential skill for anyone who wants to communicate effectively: articulating your points clearly. Imagine you're sharing an idea in a meeting or giving a presentation. Wouldn't it be great if everyone understood exactly what you were saying? Well, that's where clear communication comes in. First off, let's start with the basics. When you make a point, think about breaking it down into smaller chunks. This makes it easier for your audience to digest and understand each part before moving on to the next bit of information. For instance, if you're talking about a high-ticket item, break it down by explaining its features first, then how it meets specific needs, and finally why it's worth the investment. Next up, using simple language can make all the difference. Avoid jargon or overly technical terms unless your audience is familiar with them. For example, instead of saying the ROI on this venture is substantial, you could say this project will bring in a lot of money. It's much easier for people to grasp. Another key tip is to use active listening and visual cues. This not only helps keep your listeners engaged, but also gives you feedback on whether they're following along. If someone looks confused, that might be a sign you need to clarify or rephrase something. Additionally, incorporating stories and examples can really make your points stick. People tend to remember narratives better than plain facts. For instance, instead of just stating we need more diversity in our team, share an example of how a diverse group solved a problem better than a homogeneous one. Lastly, don't forget the power of pauses. Pausing after making a point gives your audience time to absorb what you've said and think about it before moving on. It's like taking a breath between sentences. It makes everything flow smoothly and naturally. So there you have it. Break things down, use simple language, engage actively with your listeners, illustrate your points with stories or examples, and don't forget those important pauses. By following these tips, you'll be well on your way to communicating clearly and effectively. That's all for today's lesson. Remember, practice makes perfect when it comes to clear communication. Let's dive right into handling interruptions gracefully. Imagine you're in the middle of an important presentation when someone raises their hand to ask a question, or perhaps you're deep into a task when your colleague stops by for a quick chat. These are just some examples of how interruptions can crop up unexpectedly and throw us off our game. But with the right mindset and approach, we can turn those interruptions into positive moments. First things first, it's important to acknowledge the interruption promptly. A simple nod or verbal acknowledgement like "thank you for bringing that up" shows respect for their input while also maintaining your focus on the task at hand. Once you've acknowledged them, take a moment to assess the situation and decide how best to proceed. If it's something quick and easy, go ahead and address it right away. For instance, if someone asks about an upcoming project deadline, you can provide that information swiftly before getting back to your work. On the other hand, if the interruption is more substantial or requires further discussion, it might be helpful to schedule a time for that conversation later so as not to lose momentum in what you're currently doing. For example, when someone stops by with a high-ticket item they need help prioritizing, you can briefly discuss its urgency and then suggest setting up a meeting to go over all the details. Another key aspect is maintaining your composure during these interruptions. Remember that interruptions are part of any collaborative environment, so staying calm and composed will not only help you stay focused, but also set a positive tone for resolving whatever issue has come up. For instance, if someone interrupts with an urgent matter that seems to conflict with your current priorities, take a deep breath, listen carefully to their concerns, then calmly discuss how best to address it. Lastly, consider the impact of interruptions on your overall productivity and stress levels. It might be beneficial to review your workflow processes or communication channels to minimize unnecessary disruptions. For example, if you find that too many meetings are causing frequent breaks in your workflow, try scheduling fewer but more focused meetings to help maintain a steady pace throughout the day. In conclusion, handling interruptions gracefully involves acknowledging them promptly, assessing their importance, maintaining composure, and occasionally reviewing your processes to reduce unnecessary disruptions. By doing this, you'll not only enhance your productivity, but also create a positive work environment where everyone feels valued and heard. Today, we're diving into the world of formulating thought-provoking queries, something that can really elevate your discussions and conversations to new heights. So let's start by understanding what makes a query truly thought-provoking. A great question isn't just about gathering information. It's about encouraging deep thinking and stimulating insightful responses. To begin with, consider the topic you're interested in or the discussion you want to lead. Once you have that topic in mind, think about how you can open up new perspectives or challenge existing beliefs. For example, Instead of asking a straightforward question like "What are your thoughts on climate change?" try something more nuanced, such as "How might our daily habits contribute to or mitigate the impact of climate change?" Another key aspect is to avoid yes or no questions that only require a simple answer. Instead, aim for open-ended inquiries that invite detailed responses and encourage dialogue. For instance, instead of asking "Do you like this movie?" ask what elements in this movie stood out to you most, and why do you think they were impactful? Also, don't be afraid to mix up your questioning techniques by incorporating hypothetical scenarios or asking for comparisons. This can help participants see different angles and connect ideas more effectively. For example, if we could change one aspect of our current system, what would it be, and how might that affect other areas? Or compare two similar situations. How does this situation differ from the previous instance where a similar issue arose? Remember to keep your queries relevant and focused on the discussion at hand, while also encouraging reflection. This approach not only keeps participants engaged, but also promotes a deeper understanding of the topic. Lastly, always be prepared for unexpected responses and follow up with additional questions based on what you hear. This shows engagement and helps guide the conversation in productive directions. So there you have it. Start with your topic, ask open-ended questions to encourage detailed responses, use hypothetical scenarios or comparisons to explore different perspectives, stay relevant and focused, and remain flexible by following up as needed. These strategies can help you craft queries that spark meaningful dialogue and deep thinking. That's all for today's session on formulating thought-provoking queries. I hope these tips will serve you well in your next discussion or conversation. Today, we're diving into an essential aspect of effective questioning, timing your questions strategically to get the most out of every conversation. Let's imagine you're in a meeting with colleagues brainstorming ideas for a high-ticket project. If you ask your question right away at the start, it might feel premature or rushed. But wait too long and others may have taken the initiative already, leaving less room for input from yourself and others who need time to think. Instead, timing your questions just right can make all the difference in gathering valuable insights and driving productive discussions. Start by listening carefully to what's being said and watching for natural pauses or shifts in conversation that signal a good moment to interject. This might come after someone shares an interesting point or when there's a lull in dialogue where folks are looking around for ideas. When you do ask your question, make sure it's clear and concise so everyone understands what you're seeking. For instance, instead of saying, "So what do we think about this project?" try something more specific like, "Can anyone suggest potential risks we should consider?" This helps focus the group on actionable feedback rather than abstract musings. Another key aspect is knowing when to hold back and let others lead the discussion. Sometimes it's better to ask your question later after hearing additional viewpoints or seeing how the conversation evolves. By doing this, you're showing respect for others' thoughts while also positioning yourself as someone who listens carefully before speaking up. Remember to adjust your timing based on the dynamics of each group and meeting style too. In a more casual setting where everyone knows one another well, jumping in earlier might work better than waiting until later. Conversely, if it's a formal or technical discussion with experts, giving people time to digest information thoroughly before asking for input is usually wise. Lastly, don't forget about follow-up questions to explore ideas further and probe deeper into topics. These can be asked immediately after an initial response or at the end of a section when folks are wrapping up thoughts on a particular area. For example, you might say, "That's interesting. How would we measure success for this project?" This helps keep the conversation flowing smoothly while also encouraging more detailed and thoughtful exchanges. In conclusion, timing your questions strategically is all about listening intently to the flow of conversation, being mindful of when it makes sense to ask based on group dynamics, and adjusting your approach as needed. By doing so, you can lead discussions that are engaging, productive, and inclusive for everyone involved. Let's dive right into this important topic, delivering critique in a positive manner. Now, we all know that giving feedback can sometimes feel awkward, but it doesn't have to be this way. Today, we're going to talk about how you can make your critiques not only constructive, but also encouraging. First things first, start by acknowledging the good stuff. When you begin with something positive, you set a friendly tone and show appreciation for what has been done well. It's like saying thank you before diving into areas that could use improvement. This approach makes it easier to receive feedback because it feels less critical right from the get-go. Next up, focus on specific examples rather than general statements. Instead of saying this part is weak, specify exactly what needs work and why. For example, if someone's presentation didn't fully engage their audience, you could say something like the introduction was a bit too brief, which might have made it harder for the audience to connect with your message. This way, they know exactly what aspect to improve. Another key point is using I statements instead of you statements. For instance, saying I found myself wanting more examples in this section sounds less accusatory than you need more examples here. It shows that you're offering feedback from your perspective rather than making a blanket statement about their abilities. Now, let's talk about the sandwich method. Start with something positive, then add constructive criticism, and finish with another positive note. This wraps up your critique nicely while reinforcing the good things they've done. So it might go like this. Your research was really thorough and well supported. However, I think adding a bit more context could help readers understand why these findings are important. Overall, you did an amazing job. Lastly, don't forget to end on a note of encouragement. Let them know that with some tweaks here and there, their work will be even stronger. And remember to offer support if they need it. If you'd like, I'm happy to review your changes before you submit the final version. All right, wrapping up our discussion, delivering critique positively is all about creating a supportive environment where growth happens naturally. By focusing on specifics and using encouraging language, you make feedback less intimidating and more effective. Remember, it's not just about fixing mistakes, it's about building confidence and improving skills together. All right, everyone, let's dive into today's topic, soliciting input from others. Picture this. You're working on a high-ticket project and need some fresh ideas to move forward. Well, the key here is to open up your network and ask for those valuable insights. Start by identifying who can contribute meaningfully that could be colleagues, mentors, or even industry peers. Now let's talk about how to approach these people. Begin with a clear request, outlining what you need help with and why their input matters. Be specific about the type of feedback you're looking for. For instance, if it's an innovative solution you want, make sure they know that upfront. Remember, clarity is your friend here. Next up, consider the format for receiving this feedback. Email works great, but sometimes a quick chat over Slack or a call might be more effective depending on how busy everyone is. Whatever method you choose, just ensure it's convenient and comfortable for them to respond. Now, as you gather all these wonderful ideas, don't forget to acknowledge each person's contribution. A simple thank you goes a long way in building those relationships for future collaborations. And speaking of which, if someone provides particularly insightful feedback, why not follow up with another message letting them know how their input helped move the project forward? All right, so what have we learned today? Soliciting input from others is all about identifying who can contribute meaningfully to your project, approaching them clearly and respectfully, choosing an appropriate format for receiving their feedback, and then acknowledging their efforts. By doing this, you'll not only enrich your projects but also foster stronger professional relationships. That's it for now. Let's dive right into initiating discussion points effectively. Imagine you're at a meeting where everyone is eager to share their thoughts, but no one knows how to start. You could be the person who breaks that ice by asking open-ended questions or making a relevant statement that invites others to respond. For example, if your team is discussing project management tools, you might say something like, "I've been reading about some new agile methodologies. Has anyone tried any of these recently?" This approach not only sets the tone but also encourages participation. To make sure your discussion points are engaging and productive, consider using techniques that spark curiosity or debate. For instance, posing a hypothetical situation can get everyone thinking creatively about potential solutions. A statement like, "If we could eliminate one major obstacle in our project right now, which would it be?" might lead to some interesting insights. Another effective strategy is sharing personal experiences or anecdotes relevant to the topic. This not only humanizes your contributions, but also makes the discussion more relatable and engaging for others. For example, you might say, "Back when I was handling similar projects, we encountered a high-ticket issue that really tested our problem-solving skills." Remember to use active listening skills as well. When someone else speaks up with an idea or question, acknowledge it by nodding or summarizing what they said before adding your thoughts. This shows respect for their contribution and keeps the conversation flowing smoothly. In conclusion, initiating discussion points effectively is all about setting a positive tone, encouraging participation through open questions and statements, sharing relevant experiences, and actively listening to others. By doing so, you'll create an environment where everyone feels valued and eager to contribute. Today, we're diving into an essential aspect of leadership, demonstrating strong leadership skills during meetings. First off, let's talk about active listening. It's not just about hearing what others say, it's truly understanding their points and responding thoughtfully. This shows respect for all voices in the room and helps build a collaborative atmosphere. Next up is clear communication. When you lead a meeting, your words need to be concise yet comprehensive. Avoid rambling or speaking in jargon. Make sure everyone understands what's being discussed so there's no confusion later on. Another key skill is facilitation. As a leader, it's your job to keep the discussion flowing smoothly and ensure all voices are heard. If you notice someone dominating the conversation or others not participating, gently guide things back into balance. This keeps the meeting productive and inclusive for everyone involved. Now let's touch on decision-making. Effective leaders don't just make decisions, they involve team members in the process. Ask for input, weigh pros and cons together, then make a collective decision that feels right for the group. This not only fosters teamwork, but also ensures better buy-in from your colleagues. Lastly, remember to lead by example. Show enthusiasm for the meeting's goals and demonstrate a positive attitude even when facing challenges. Your energy can inspire others to stay focused and committed to achieving success together. In conclusion, being an effective leader during meetings is about listening actively, communicating clearly, facilitating smoothly, making informed decisions collaboratively, and leading with positivity. These skills not only enhance the effectiveness of your team, but also strengthen your leadership presence in every setting. So today, we're diving into how to brainstorm solutions as a team, something that can be really powerful when you've got a group of people working together on a problem. Let's start by talking about what makes for an effective brainstorming session. First off, it's all about creating a comfortable and inclusive environment where everyone feels safe sharing their ideas freely. This means setting the ground rules upfront: no judgment. All ideas are welcome, and every voice matters. Next up is making sure everyone understands the problem at hand clearly. You want to start with defining the issue as precisely as possible so that your team knows what exactly they're solving for. Once you've got that nailed down, it's time to unleash creativity. Encourage your team members to think outside the box and come up with ideas no matter how wild or unconventional they might seem at first. Now, while everyone is sharing their thoughts, it's important to capture them all, whether on a whiteboard, sticky notes, or digital platform like Miro. This visual representation helps you see connections between different ideas more easily. After the initial round of idea generation, you can start grouping similar concepts together and discussing each cluster in detail. As you delve deeper into these clusters, don't be afraid to challenge assumptions and explore why certain solutions might work better than others. It's okay to debate and question. That's how you get to the best possible outcome. Remember, though, this is still a brainstorming phase, so keep an open mind. Once you've explored all the potential ideas thoroughly, it's time for evaluation. This step involves ranking the ideas based on criteria relevant to your project, such as feasibility, cost-effectiveness, and impact. You might use a scoring system or simply discuss pros and cons. Finally, once you've narrowed down to the top few solutions, decide collectively which one to implement or further develop into actionable plans. Make sure everyone feels aligned with this decision so that when it comes time to execute, your team is fully behind the chosen solution. All right, to wrap up, remember these key points. Create a safe space for sharing ideas, clearly define the problem, capture all thoughts visually, explore each idea thoroughly, evaluate based on criteria relevant to your project, and make a collective decision. Following this process will help ensure that you're leveraging the full potential of teamwork in coming up with effective solutions. That's it for today's lesson. All right, everyone. Welcome back to our meeting on reaching consensus on meeting outcomes. Today, we're going to dive into some practical tips that will help you nail down those key decisions and get your team moving forward with confidence. First off, let's talk about the importance of summarizing the discussion points as they come up during a meeting. This helps everyone stay aligned and focused on what matters most. So, whenever a big idea or decision comes up, take a moment to repeat it back for clarity. Next, we need to ensure that all voices are heard. Encourage quieter team members to share their thoughts with open-ended questions like, "What do you think about this option?" This helps build inclusivity and ensures everyone feels valued in the process. Now, let's talk about identifying areas of agreement versus disagreement. It's crucial to pinpoint these so your team can work toward consensus more efficiently. When there are differing opinions, don't shy away from them. Use them as opportunities for deeper discussion until you find common ground. Another key strategy is to break larger decisions into smaller chunks. This makes the process feel less overwhelming and easier to manage. For example, if you're deciding on a high-ticket item like purchasing new equipment, start by agreeing on what features are essential versus nice to have before moving on to budget considerations. Don't forget about the nitty-gritty details too. These can often make or break your final decision. So be sure to discuss and agree upon all aspects of the outcome, from timelines to responsibilities. Lastly, always document your agreements clearly at the end of a meeting so there's no confusion later on. This could be in the form of minutes, action items, or even just a quick summary email sent out right after everyone leaves. So there you have it, some actionable ways to reach consensus and move forward as a team with confidence. Remember, the goal is always to make decisions that benefit your entire group and set clear expectations for moving forward. Let's dive right into staying focused throughout meetings. It can sometimes feel like we're attending high-ticket events that never end. But by implementing some key strategies, you'll find it easier to stay engaged from start to finish. First off, prep yourself before the meeting starts. Gather all necessary materials and review any relevant information ahead of time. This sets a solid foundation for active participation. Next, position yourself in an environment conducive to concentration. If possible, choose a quiet spot away from distractions like chatty coworkers or noisy machines. During the meeting itself, practice attentive listening. Make eye contact with speakers, nod occasionally to show engagement, and avoid multitasking. Taking notes is also helpful. It keeps your mind actively processing the information being shared. Another tip: ask questions when you're unsure about something. This not only clarifies points, but also demonstrates active involvement in the discussion. Remember, there's no such thing as a dumb question, especially if it helps move the meeting forward effectively. To further enhance focus, try to summarize key points mentally or out loud at regular intervals throughout the meeting. This reinforces your understanding and keeps you actively engaged rather than daydreaming about that high-ticket project you're working on. Lastly, stay energized by taking short breaks if the meeting stretches longer than expected. A quick walk around the room or a brief stretch can rejuvenate your mind and help maintain concentration levels through to the end. In conclusion, Staying focused throughout meetings requires preparation, active engagement, and periodic refocusing. By implementing these strategies, you'll not only enhance your personal productivity, but also contribute more effectively to team success. Today, we're diving into how to keep those meetings running smoothly and achieving their goals without derailing. Meetings are essential for collaboration and decision-making, but can sometimes spiral out of control if not managed well. So let's get into some strategies that will help you maintain focus and stick to the schedule. First, start by setting clear objectives before the meeting begins. Outline what needs to be accomplished and share this with all attendees ahead of time so they come prepared. This helps everyone stay on track during the discussion. Next up is managing your agenda effectively. Break down key topics into manageable sections and allocate specific times for each item. When you're leading the meeting, keep an eye on the clock and gently steer discussions back to the planned topic if they start veering off course. Another crucial tip is to encourage active participation, but also be mindful of those high-ticket items that require more time or detailed discussion. Make sure these are given enough room without eating up too much of your meeting time. Speaking of which, managing time wisely is key to keeping everything on schedule. If you notice a topic taking longer than expected, it's okay to pause and address the most critical points now while scheduling additional discussions for another session if needed. This ensures you cover all important matters efficiently. Now let's talk about handling disruptions smoothly. It's inevitable that questions or tangents might come up during the meeting. When this happens, acknowledge their importance but gently redirect back to the main topic at hand. If a point is particularly relevant yet time-consuming, jot it down and plan for further discussion later on. Lastly, don't forget to summarize key takeaways before wrapping up your session. This reinforces what was accomplished and sets clear next steps for attendees, ensuring everyone leaves knowing exactly what's expected of them going forward. So there you have it, strategies for keeping meetings on schedule while staying focused on achieving their goals. Remember, preparation is key, but being flexible and responsive to the flow of conversation helps maintain productivity without losing sight of your objectives. Today, we're diving into how to use digital tools for effective collaboration, something that's become even more important these days as many of us are working remotely. So let's get started. First things first, what exactly are digital tools? They're basically anything online or software-based that helps people communicate and collaborate. Think about it. Email, instant messaging platforms like Slack or Teams, video conferencing apps such as Zoom, Google Drive for file sharing, Trello for project management, and so on. Now, why do we need these tools? Well, they help us stay connected no matter where we are, which is super handy when working from home or across different time zones. They also make it easier to share information quickly, collaborate in real time, and keep track of everyone's progress on projects. So how can you use them effectively for collaboration? Here are a few tips. First, choose the right tool for the job. For instance, if you're planning a meeting with lots of people, Zoom might be better than Google Meet depending on your needs and preferences. It's all about figuring out what works best for you and your team. Next, make sure everyone knows how to use these tools properly. Spend some time training new members or setting up tutorials so they can get up to speed quickly without getting lost in the nitty-gritty details. Another important point is communication etiquette. Be clear and concise when sending messages. Avoid confusion by using proper punctuation and formatting, and remember to keep tone appropriate for work settings. Also, don't forget about regular check-ins. Schedule meetings or chats at set intervals so everyone can stay on top of project progress and address any issues early on. This helps prevent those last-minute crises and keeps the team moving forward smoothly. Lastly, embrace technology, but also be mindful of its limitations. While digital tools are great for collaboration, sometimes face-to-face conversations or old-fashioned phone calls can make a big difference in understanding each other better. So there you have it. By choosing the right tool, training your team properly, maintaining good communication practices, scheduling regular check-ins, and being aware of technology's role versus its limitations, you'll be well on your way to successful collaboration using digital tools. Today, we're diving into the world of virtual meetings to uncover some strategies for overcoming challenges and making these online gatherings more effective. Let's face it, we've all been there sitting through a virtual meeting that feels disjointed or unproductive. But fear not, because with some key tips and tricks, you can transform your next virtual meeting into something truly valuable. First off, let's talk about preparation. Before hopping onto that call, make sure you're fully prepped. That means having all your materials ready to go, testing your internet connection, and ensuring your camera and microphone are functioning smoothly. It's the little things like making sure your background is professional and distraction-free that can make a big difference. Next up, let's tackle the issue of engagement. Virtual meetings can sometimes feel less interactive than face-to-face ones. To combat this, encourage active participation by asking for input regularly and assigning roles to attendees like note-taker or timekeeper to keep everyone engaged throughout the meeting. Also, consider using breakout rooms if your platform allows it. This way, smaller groups can discuss topics in detail while still maintaining a structured flow. Another challenge is ensuring that all voices are heard equally. With virtual meetings, some team members might dominate conversations while others remain quiet. To address this, try implementing round-robin discussions or having everyone share their thoughts on the topic at hand before moving forward with decisions. This ensures that no one feels left out and helps bring diverse perspectives to the forefront. Lastly, let's talk about follow-up. After a virtual meeting, it's crucial to send out a recap of what was discussed and any action items assigned. This keeps everyone accountable and ensures nothing falls through the cracks. Remember, clear communication post-meeting is just as important as during the meeting itself. So there you have it, some key strategies for making your next virtual meeting more effective and engaging. By focusing on preparation, engagement, inclusivity, and follow-up, you can turn those sometimes challenging online meetings into productive sessions that everyone looks forward to attending. Now go forth and conquer those virtual meeting challenges. Thank you all for joining me on this journey through effective meeting participation techniques. Over these past weeks, we've covered quite a bit of ground together. We started with understanding different types of meetings and setting goals for your participation. Then, we dove into the importance of pre-meeting preparation by researching agendas in advance and gathering relevant data. Next came the critical skill of effective listening, where we explored techniques for active listening and how to navigate nonverbal cues during meetings. We also discussed speaking with confidence, including articulating points clearly and handling interruptions gracefully. Then, we examined the art of asking insightful questions, learning how to formulate thought-provoking queries and time them strategically. Another key aspect was providing constructive feedback, where we learned how to deliver critique in a positive manner and solicit input from others. We also looked at leading by example, initiating discussion points effectively, and demonstrating leadership skills during meetings. Collaborative problem-solving followed, covering brainstorming solutions as a team and reaching consensus on meeting outcomes. We then focused on managing time efficiently, emphasizing the importance of staying focused throughout the meeting and keeping everything on schedule. Lastly, we explored how to leverage technology in meetings, using digital tools for effective collaboration while overcoming challenges with virtual meetings. As you move forward, remember these key takeaways: being prepared, listening actively, speaking confidently, asking insightful questions, providing constructive feedback, leading effectively, solving problems collaboratively, managing time well, and using technology wisely. Apply these skills to enhance your meeting participation and make a positive impact in every interaction. I wish each of you success as you implement what you've learned here. Whether it's in a team meeting or a one-on-one discussion, let this knowledge guide you toward becoming an even more valuable contributor. Lastly, I encourage you to stay connected with me or leave a review if you found the course helpful. Let's continue growing together and sharing our experiences.